Welcome to the second video in this series on the new brain button on advanced poker training. I hope you've watched the first video on using the brain button pre-flop. This video will continue that discussion and look at the information presented by the brain button after the flop. So here we are on the flop, and just like before, we press the advice button, and then we press the brain button. Let's take a look at some of the factors our advisor was considering on the flop. Several of these will look familiar because you saw them in the pre-flop video, and they're the same factors considered pre-flop. First, let's go to the recommended strategy page. These first few boxes are pretty easy. They show your hand, the board cards, the strength of your hand, and the action your advisor already recommended. The next box shows your possible outs. That means potential ways your hand could improve using the remaining cards to come on the turn and river. This includes straight draws, flush draws, and overcards. An overcard means a card in your hand that is higher than any of the cards on the board. For example, if the board cards were a king, a 9, and a 6, and you held an ace in your hand, that ace is an overcard. Overcards are important because if you hit a pair with an overcard, you know it's going to be top pair. Sometimes here you'll also see the word backdoor, such as a backdoor flush draw. A backdoor draw requires 2 more cards to complete it. For example, if you held 2 spades in your hand and the flop had 1 spade on it, you would have a backdoor flush draw, meaning you need 2 more spades on the turn and river to complete your flush. Backdoor draws aren't worth a lot, but they do hit occasionally. Finally, some draws will have anywhere from 1 to 5 stars after them, indicating how strong that draw is relative to other draws of the same type. For example, let's say you held a king and a queen in your hand, and the flop had a jack and a 10 on it. That would be a 5-star straight draw for sure, because any straight you make is guaranteed to be the best possible straight for that hand. In contrast, suppose there were 3 spades on the flop, and you held the 5 of spades in your hand. That's going to be a 1-star flush draw because even if you hit your flush, it's probably not going to be good. The last box here shows your odds of improving your hand to a better type of hand on the very next card. The odds are easy to read if you think of it this way. If the odds say you are 4 to 1 to make a flush on the next card, it means for every 1 time you do make a flush, you can expect not to make a flush 4 times. So it's 4 to 1 against making a flush. The next page is the board characteristics page. These are properties of the current board cards that your advisor, and you of course, should be taking into consideration when determining the relative strength of your hand. Let's look at this first box, board texture. Board texture is a term poker players use to describe how coordinated the board cards are in various ways. The first bar looks at whether the board is paired, or maybe there's even 2 pair or trips on the board. One implication of this is that straights and flushes are not as valuable on paired boards because of the possibility of someone having a full house or even quads. The next bar here looks at the straight potential of the board cards. Let's start on the left side. None means no straights or even straight draws are possible. This next position indicates there are possible one-way straight draws out there. A one-way straight draw is also known as an inside straight draw or a gut shot straight draw. If the bar is in this position, it could mean someone holds a 2-way straight draw, also known as an open-ended straight draw. This would also include a double gut shot straight draw. If the bar is in this position, it's possible for someone to already have made a straight. And this last position is the most dangerous of all, 4 to a straight on the board. Any hand less than a straight isn't very valuable anymore at this point. This final bar looks at flush potential, and it's very similar to straight potential, so I won't discuss it all in detail. Possible flush draws 2 means there are 2 potential flush draws. This could occur on the turn only, for example if there were 2 spades and 2 hearts on the board. By the way, when you get to the river, the labels on these bars will change slightly. Straight and flush draws aren't possible anymore on the river, since there aren't any more cards to come. This other box here is called board ranks. If any of these conditions apply, they'll be highlighted in red. These are additional factors your advisor considers to assess your ability to improve your hand. Let's look at a couple of them. The first one will be highlighted anytime there's an ace on the board. Since so many typical starting hands contain an ace, you should use caution if you don't have one. This box says overcards to your whole cards. For example, suppose you held Queen Jack suited and the flop contained a king. This box will be highlighted to warn you that even if you hit a queen or jack on the turn, you still won't have top pair. There are 2 more pages to come, and we'll look at those in the next video. Thanks for watching.